Welcome back to the Overwatch League, ladies and gentlemen. So far, today's matches have been pretty darn one-sided, but there is light at the end of the tunnel of these perpetual boomings. That's right. Our last match of the day is one with a bit of promise match.
Matt, you're muted in OBS.
Early on, as the Valiant, so I guess I was muted there, Mitch, my bad. I unmuted the wrong thing. Basically, the Valiant and the Atlanta Reign, the Valiants were better than Atlanta throughout most of the Summer Showdown, but once Genji was in the mix, they were just not able to get things going. Atlanta, I think they're in an odd spot as you have Baby Bay retire. Baby Bay no longer with the Atlanta Reign. Sad to see him go. How do they fill his shoes? Because he was one of their better players throughout the season thus far.
You know, one of the things that these two teams have in common is that they both have lost to the Toronto Defiant in our Summer Showdown. So, oddly enough, neither of these teams really reached expectations. The perennial story about the Atlanta Reign is that they just never play up to their opposition, right? It's always they beat teams that they are clearly better than, and so far, they haven't won a series in which they haven't 3-0'd someone.
Yes, I was going to say that. They either 3-0 or they lose. But that's a team that really kind of all about momentum in terms of how they keep these series going, where as soon as they lose, they seem to just get down on themselves.
Well, it's time now for our connection segment presented by Xfinity as we cast our minds back quite some way to the last time that these two teams played against each other. It was back in week 13, and it was a 5-map affair. It was a very close one. We saw Erster, of course, on the May, and the Valiant actually came out on top. It was quite an exciting series, actually, but much has changed since then. You can see some of the heroes that were selected back there. You see, obviously, a little bit of Echo, so she was obviously involved by that point, but I mean, Shax and KSP for the Valiant were there, but now with Genji still being such a consideration for so many teams, so I don't know what to expect from this head-to-head.
Yeah, it'll be really odd to see what the Valiant decide to do, whether they try and opt to do something that doesn't include Genji, which was working up until Genji became really strong, and try and just avoid the hero altogether, or bring it in and have it be impactful.
Now, the last time they played, we actually got a decent insight into how first eliminations were affecting win rates. So both of these teams were pretty much spot on in turning first eliminations into teamfight win rates. You see just how similar those statistics are in general. And you see 75% for the Valiant. So that is something that was a big part for them. And it speaks into our narrative of sort of momentum between these two teams. Momentum is something that the Atlanta Reign want to carry into a fight. If they get that first pick, they're probably going to win the team fight. If they win the first map, they're looking good in the series. But as the series gets longer, the weaker that the Atlanta Reign seem to get. So that much hasn't changed so far. But how do you 3-0 the Los Angeles Valiant? Like,
it'll be tough.
They disappointed maybe in the Summer Showdown, but they didn't get boomed in a straight series.
Well, there is like a path that could happen. If the Atlanta Reign come out and they play very aggressive, play around your Genji, maybe they're able to do it if the Valiant don't want to show any type of Genji looks.
Now, bear in mind, Brig has received some changes in how her repair pack works and also in terms of how her shield behaves when it recharges. And we got some insights on Shax and how that affects the life of your average DPS player.
Well, I like the new patch a lot more because now there's no ult healing for the bricks, so you can't really pack a DPS and the DPS will be unkillable now. But now that that's removed, the DPS are less survivability.
So there you have it. So yeah, Brigitte now being nerfed a little bit here. We'll see how that changes things for Genji players who actually have to get things done. Sort of without the assistance of Nano Boost, without Supercharger, as mentioned earlier on. Brig it was more of an adjustment because some parts of Brig got stronger. Like her overall shield percentage is stronger, but after losing a shield or after sort of shield bashing, the cooldown is a little bit longer on being able to use that again.
It's very difficult to get Brig in the right spot a lot of the times. She kind of teeters on the line of being extremely impactful or just not really having too much influence on the game. I think they're getting her to a better spot though. in regards to the Valiant starting lineup, what we see today, it'll be KSF and KSP. So this tells you that they do want to play some Genji potentially.
Yeah, with no sign of Shax today, even though we sort of heard a little bit from him. We know that, I mean, Shax is the kind of player that could be called on to sort of play a lot of that Tracer. The Valiant still have a few options, but if there was anything that we were taught from San Francisco's failure to convert and win the Summer Showdown, it was of course that Genji is important. Now, obviously, big changes for the Atlanta Reign with the departure of Baby Bay. Now, he was not only a leader off the battlefield, but also quite an important part of their playstyle on it. So we got some words from, a longtime friend and fellow veteran Dogman on how that's affected the Atlanta Reign going forward.
So Baby Bay departing from our team has put us in a position where both Erster, Edison, and Sharp will probably be playing a lot more. And considering they're all very strong players, I think we'll have very good results. It's just difficult because of the fact that we need to now adjust to a whole new player, a whole new play style and comm structure.
Maybe the most important part for me, Matt, is the change in comm structure that Atlanta has to now deal with.
Right.
Remember, this is a team that is, has multiple nationalities that sort of have to work together. You've got a Finnish player, you've obviously got players from the United States, and then players from South Korea. So, it appears that Baby Bay was actually a sort of key part of that. And we talk about leadership on and off the battlefield. So, how do they adjust to that? And who steps up now? And Baby Bay said in his departure message, like, there are players that will have to step up in my stead.
It's got to be like Edison, Erster, Sharp, kind of like how Dogman alluded to. It'll be interesting how they work Sharp in the mix. Very good Tracer, very good Widowmaker. Edison, though, I think when you looked at Baby Bay, I think he was one of the standout players for the Atlanta Reign this season. I think Edison has been good as well. It's just been... We haven't been as hype about him because they haven't won that many games, and they've looked so inconsistent at times. But he's had a very good season thus far.
I wonder how much that has to do with the revolving door of DPS players that they had beforehand. With Baby Bay, it was 4 of them. And when we saw Erster get subbed in late in the day during the Summer Showdown, he didn't look good. We know how good he is. He was a breakout rookie last year, one of the top DPS players in the entire league. But next to Edison, or at least in that setup, he looked very average, and that's being kind about it.
And I think from what we've seen from Erster this season, they've had him on a ton of Mei at times. Like, I remember a lot of series that we've casted where he's only come in for Temple of Anubis and Mei.
Right.
It's probably not something he's super thrilled to do. Probably just wanted to get in the game and have it done. Now, if he's able to actually play some of the heroes we know him to be extremely good at, and he can be more impactful on the team as a whole, I think you will see Erster shredding towards back where he was last season.
Well, it's time to jump into our first map of the series. It will be Ilios, and Ruins is where it all begins. I think a lot of people now, especially we are playing with hero pools in effect, which means that Mei, Widowmaker, Orisa, Ana are unselectable. That does change the landscape of this particular map, as teams were going for a lot of Widow, during the Summer Showdown. The Valiant, we've seen KSP be like a really standout Ashe player. Not a ton of teams have really been opting for that. We've seen it here and there, especially on maps like Hanamura. For the Atlanta Reign, where does Erster fit here?
Genji,
is he built to complement Edison adequately? Because Erster was the Tracer player before Edison came of age.
We do know that Erster, though, has a pretty solid Genji as well. So we will see what Atlanta decides to do. It looks like they're going to be playing a dive composition. This is kind of what we see from it now. Yep. For the Valiant, they actually will continue to play Ashe here. So they'll play Ashe with the Baptiste.
Dreamer, front and center now. So obviously he's sort of back in the lineup a little bit more. KSP finds Gator early on here with the Dynamite. And it's a pretty solid beginning for the Valiant. Someone like Dreamer doesn't have to do a whole lot except just hold mouse 2 and keep the shield up. KSP is very safe, and perched as he was up on that high ground, it was hard for Edison to access him. Now, that's a different story, but Edison's got bigger fish to fry, apparently.
I was going to say, if you're going to play this composition for Atlanta, you have to figure out a way how to access KSP and put pressure on him. You get him low, but not really a solid attempt to finish him off. Now you start to get the Winston into a better position.
And look, Dreamer is having all this pressure taken off of him now. Oh. That's unfortunate. McGravy goes bye-bye as Master hits him with a whip shot. So that, yeah, into the backline Gator went with pretty much no health. So Edison was doing a good job of it, distracting a lot of resources from the Valiant.
And it's a lot of pressure on Hawk there because they play with Hawk alone, and when they see the dive start to move around, what the Valiant decides to do is they push on forward with their Reinhardt, which is the right play. You're going to play this composition, play with the Reinhardt as a damage dealer, let him try and do the damage to the Sigma, but the backline for the Atlanta Reign, a great position there. The knockoff onto McGravy from Moss is huge.
Edison creeping up on Rain, wasn't quite able to finish the job, even though Rain got hit with a Discord Orb. Now it's going to be an Amp Matrix, and that bomb is on the front side of the shield. McGravy catches Edison out as he lingered a little bit too long in no man's land. And KSP sends Bob in, probably expecting to actually get eliminated there. He's able to hang on thanks to the healing of Lastra on Rain.
Yes, the Bob comes through to the point, puts down some extra damage, and the Valiant flip this point back and start taking the lead. Is Atlanta with Ursa in play here on Genji. They'll have this Blade. How do they decide to use it? A lot of open space here on Ruin, so it's very difficult to close the gap, like we were mentioning. They have to get creative and kind of use some of those off angles that they were using before.
Here comes Master and Dogman. So, backline is here. Rally going to be invested right at the beginning of the fight here, and Edison wants to push forward now. Try and get Dreamer low before the Gravitic Flux comes in, so there's more of a guarantee of getting an insta-kill on the Reinhardt when it drops down. But no, it's going to be Transcendence here from Dogman. Dreamer's still healthy though, and his Reinhardt's been so hard to kill. Here's the Gravitic Flux from the Los Angeles Valiant now, and Dreamer wants to move up and try and control the Mega Health Pack. That was picked up by KSF, but maybe the wrong player for it, as Edison is tearing strips off of the Valiant now. Los Angeles, a comfortable lead built, so Atlanta is springing into action.
And we talked about a little bit in the pre-game about Edison's Tracer stats compared to Shaxx. And when you think Shaxx, we think of him extremely highly in terms of Tracer players in the league. And Edison is pretty comparable in all categories. It's just that the Reign are 7-6 and the Valiant are 8-7, and they've overperformed expectations. Where I think that's why you don't see as much love go Edison's way.
Yeah, I think the only difference is Edison's actually a little bit of a safer Tracer player. He just has sort of less depth, crucially. Rain going to get that healing on Elastro here, and has got himself in a reasonably safe spot. That Ant Matrix obviously clearly was just made for human. Gator goes sailing overhead like a hang glider. Valiant now just regrouping a little bit here, but with Bob, they're probably going to try and work this right-hand side. Good shield bash onto Edison. Forced to recall almost immediately. KSF being pressured somewhat by Gator, but he's staved off, and KSP gets the high ground safety once more.
So you see the one pick there from Rain. It'll be a Gravitic Flux here from the Atlanta Reign to try and keep this point in their favor. They want to try and end it here as Gator switches over the Wrecking Ball to try and make it back, and Dogman with a perfectly timed Transcendence here, getting it at the end. Should help push Atlanta over the line.
You're Hawk, you cannot ask for much more than that. All you need to do is use the grasp, back up, stay alive, and the Transcendence was there when you needed it. And now the Reign will have a rally. Everything they need. Look at that Ant Matrix right now. 3 players trying to use it on the high ground, but the Valiant are using the Matrix. They're not really sitting on the point. KSF backs up. He's going to be pressured down by Hawk though now. And the Lorraine are still in control, but are dwindling in numbers. McGravy and Lastra are holding the fort on the point, while Dreamer breaks line of sight on the ramp. He'll go and finish up the fight and give the Valiant a shot to make this one close.
And if you were Atlanta, you definitely thought that the Transcendence, you would have been able to follow it up with some more kills, potentially end it, but the Valiant do a nice job of just dipping into the point, contesting, backing out, and now the Valiant have a chance to close this one out in their favor. They'll have Bob for the point, and Urster will have a Blade here, so without Baby Bay, their first game, first map, we'll have to see if one of these players can step up like they need it.
Where's Urster looking to go here? Pressure Lastro, get that high ground control, and yeah, try and do something, get a KSP, but as soon as he gets up there, his backline's down, so no matter what he finds here, he'd have no healing anyway. KSP lazily slides off the edge of the roof and then sends a shot in. Bob finds 2 kills to finish, and it's the Ash difference here that nets Valiant the first round on Ilios.
Yes, I do want to see if the Valiant can make this work on another point, though. I think with the way that Ruins plays, we've always seen like Widowmaker play on Ruins, right? You can play extremely far and put down damage to make it difficult, even in the past when Dive was strong to be able to dive heroes like Widowmaker. Right? Yes. So can you make it work on a point that's more compact, that plays to the range of heroes like Tracer and Genji?
Well, this might be a different story. There are some perches that KSP can play from, but those perches don't normally give him very good sightlines at all. Also, it's fairly easy to access, even if you are trying to chase him down with the Tracer. It looks like the Valiant will still want to go for it here. But they're playing with the Reinhardt, so maybe KSP just wants to play around Dreamer, get a lot of value out of the Dynamite, maybe use that defensively. The coach gun cooldown is going to be oh so important.
Does it see like the angle here is just not as good, right, as on Ruins?
It's just easier for Atlanta Reign to contest the point while staying out of line of sight. Okay,
exactly, yeah. Like you can see some of the point, but now to see most of the point, this puts you in such a rough spot where you get dove at from 3 different angles, trying to take damage from different directions. It'll be much harder, I believe, for KSP to make it work here.
It's also uncomfortable for him to contest. I mean, Gator's in a great spot here. Both Batiste, the Zen, and also KSP there were just all getting licked by the Tesla cannon there. And then Erster can just charge on in once Rain's been forced to part with that, you know, precious cooldown of Immortality Field, can go in and finish the job. This is the way the Reign would like to be playing Ilios in general.
KSP does get 1. You'll lose Gator as well, but yeah, I don't think you'll be able to make anything out of this in the long run. If you're the Valiant, you're going to have to wait for the rest of the team. I still think it's going to be way harder here, Mitch, to make this work. And some of it relies on how good the Atlanta Reign's dive is at coordinating and getting in. Because if they go in and they lose a player, that'll allow the Valiant to take that space they need to make this composition work.
Erster, I mean, can constantly pressure down Dreamer here, who probably doesn't want to be playing Reinhardt on this map at all if he can help it. He definitely doesn't want to play out in the open where Gator could use this particular ability to knock him off the edge. Gator almost goes over the edge himself there. It's an accretion, I think, sent as he backed away. Here's what Dreamer wants to do. He wants to push up into the corner at the right-hand side of your screen. That's where he wants to fight the Reign. He wants to get the no choice but to challenge him there. KSF gets in though, and the Genji this time pays off quite nicely. Master and Dogman go down. And now, with Dreamer pushing aggressively on the left side, he splits the Sigma off from the rest of the Reign.
Yes, it should be the Valiant able to flip the point. It's just a matter of time. You have Edison here, you had Hawk in play, but all of these players drop. Atlanta, they get 63% of the point. The Valiant flip it back. And what happened there is the Valiant just were able to find a early pickoff, right? When they were able to get that first pick, like I had mentioned previously, that's when they had the opportunity to move up into the point and then get KSP in a position where he's not as easy of a dive target.
Dreamer's positioning is really important here. You want to watch where he tries to stand as much as possible to get value out of this Reinhardt. McGravy's he's in trouble. Hawk trying to find him with a wayward Hypersteve, but doesn't get the kill on the enemy Sigma. McGravy's now back to full health. KSF is down though on the pulse bomb attempt from Edison. It'll work. Erster will get the job done. The finishing touches come care of the Dragon Blade. McGravy finds 2 kills in this fight, trying to just stall this out a little bit longer. Gravitic Flux was there, but Erster is able to clean up now, essentially uncontested.
As Gator comes back on Wrecking Ball here, looks like KSF just gets to the point, deflect, try and stall it out for a little bit longer, so 51% ends up being the number here for the LA Valiant. You do have a Blade in play for the LA Valiant. It's a little bit harder because you take so much damage crossing here from the likes of like Dogman, even poke damage that comes down from like Hawk. What do they decide to do with the Blade? How do they get a good use of it? Like Erster was able to just sit up here on the high ground and then pick his time to go in. Not as easy for KSF to be able to do that.
I mean, Gator, he gets out with a kill. That is astonishing. Wild. Yep. I mean, he gets a pretty tight spread on those mines, so I think there's no chance for Reign. He gets knocked around a bunch. Could even have been Master Whip shotting into something or something similar, displacement ability. But you saw how hard it is right now against this kind of compositions for tanks or initiators to stay alive. There it is. Atlanta Reign will take this to 3 rounds now.
So we'll see. It doesn't look like Atlanta is going to be really too willing to switch off of the composition they have. But neither do the Valiant, and I think it plays perfectly like a point like Ruins. We obviously saw Noah, and well, it doesn't work out. This is another map where I think it's easier to have a dive option than try and play the Ashe. Not a lot of great lines of sight towards the point. If you can win the first fight and get control over that mid, then the Ashe can work. It'll be really difficult if they do lose the point early, though.
KSP slowed down a little bit in terms of just the pure amount of final blows that he was providing, but still ends leading the Valiant. KSF probably switch to the Genji after this. Yep. And so will Erster. So almost identical compositions, except Dogman's going to be on this Zen here. Fancies himself to be able to stay alive against KSF's scrutiny. And fair enough, it's only 1 dive hero against 2 of the Atlanta Reign. The Valiant, I mean, you see this Reinhardt. They don't really want to play the same way that Atlanta do. So which comp is better?
No, they want to, looks like right now they want to sit on the high ground and potentially get KSP a good spot, but look at this, he gets dove on with a Discord, they have to use the Immortality field straight away.
Gator took no damage there, or at least was just being healed a ton. He's able to walk away still at about half health. KSF was hoping to find something, but he is essentially baited into line of sight of the rest of the rain. And Dreamer goes down early.
And how much value can you get out of the Ashe in this type of position, right? You're being dove on, your team's being pushed back. There's not like a lot of great angles. KSP does get 2 here.
Matt, the Valiant going to lose this map because neither of those two wants to play Tracer?
I don't know. I mean, right now it doesn't look great in terms of the composition, at least in my opinion, for the Valiant. And I think a lot of it is due to the map.
What about Dreamer's hero pool? Like, do you feel okay, like if you used to play a Winston?
No, I think you're better off with the Tracer. Like, if you're gonna play Winston, you may as well play Tracer, right?
Yeah.
Well, you may as well just combo them together. Like, there's no reason not to.
This is just not working for Dreamer at all, man. I hate to say it. He's getting crushed here by just the pure mobility of the Atlanta Rain. He's constantly having to 180 just to try and swap flies, and they're more like killer hornets at this stage because he keeps getting ruined by them.
Yeah, and he's gonna switch over to Winston because he's going out there. He's putting the Reinhardt triangle, the rectangle shield up, not triangle, but and he's just getting a shot from every direction. Geometry. He's doing nothing. Simple geometry. Yeah, look, you can weave anything into these games.
Oh my. Well, I mean, look, the Atlanta Rain right now don't need to do anything. It's such a great position to be in. Keep playing their way. So Dreamer does this, man. He switches over towards the Winston, but KSP doesn't budge. He has a Bob, so that's fair enough. But the Valiant are running out of time. And it won't just be on this map that they suffer for this match. It could be on many of them in this series.
But what do? If you come in and let's say you play Shax and KSP, then you don't have any option, you think, to go over and play like an Ashe, potentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe that is true. Maybe you just have to let KSF play, I don't know, man. So,
McCree allows you here to occupy, like, medium space, right? He doesn't have to play as distance as Ashe, so maybe you're able to make this work a little bit better. But with so many dive heroes, and now they're going to be boosted up by the armor of Rally, like, McCree can't really do what McCree's great at.
Well, yeah, he's going to die, especially in this current meta. It's pretty excellent at doing that. First now with the Dragon Blade, he hears one from KSF, but Dogman has a Transcendence already in play, and Rain's being put under extreme pressure right now. The Rain moved to the point, and the Valiant already exposed in this series for some of their inflexibility. And it might not just be Ilios in which it comes back to bite them. KSF, KSP have relatively similar hero pools in some senses, man. And yeah, maybe the Valiant suffering without Shax here. The Atlanta Rain looking really pleased to be playing this kind of setup. And Gator is all smiles right now, and why wouldn't you be?
Right, and I think if you're the Valiant, you have to think about making some type of adjustments. Maybe you bring in Shax to play Tracer, maybe you leave the duo of KSP and KSF in to play Tracer, Genji. I don't know if you're going to be able to make the Ashe work consistently against the dive. I think you can in certain situations on certain maps, like we saw in Ruins. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it throughout the whole series.
Yeah, and I guess the Ashe inclusion will be good, especially get some maps that maybe like Gibraltar or something similar. As this series goes, it's Volskaya, Route 66, Kings Row, Oasis. So, especially on a map like 66, you might get punished for not having a strong Genji Tracer. Anyway, map number 2 is going to be Volskaya Industries. Stick around. That one is coming right up. Do the Valiant have an answer to this composition, or will they try and make it work with what they have? Stay tuned to find out.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Map number 2 in this series between the Los Angeles Valiant and the Atlanta Reign, just around the corner. So far, Matt, the Atlanta Reign look really solid. I think they're in a good spot right now. They have the Genji Tracer, they have good dive coordination, and they're playing a bunch of Zen, which is fun, and they're able to hold their own pretty comfortably. The Valiant want to play Ashe, but they're not getting a lot of value out of it, especially later in the series. You teased this.
Yeah.
On Ruins, you said, I'd wonder if the Valiant can keep getting so much value out of their Ashe, because we know that Ruins is a good map for that high ground control, and you kind of saw it coming that they'd struggle to get more value.
Yeah, it didn't look like they were able to. So a lot of what depends on it, like if they win the first fight and they have the control and you can have that Ashe set up, then you're in a spot where you can see more success with it. But when you lose those first fights early, you can see how difficult it is to regain control. They had no capabilities to make kind of plays on off angles or anything regarding that, because as soon as the Ashe splits off or one of the other heroes split off, the composition's designed to just kind of play static around each other, and they're not able to do that. Then it makes it easy for the dive. How many times did we see like a Dreamer try and go and get a position on the Winston, and he gets burst down really quickly, or a player off to the side, they get doped by the Genji and the Tracer, and there's nothing they can do. You have to see the Valiant make adjustments here.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see like what the focus is for the Atlanta Reign in their dives as we go on, because teams that can identify that there's maybe not very good peel for the backline of their opponents will often sort of just nail immobile DPS or just try and ruin the supports, even if it's a Brigitte. We saw what happened in the San Francisco match. The Super was still able to try and dive Brig because he knew there'd be no real follow-up. So we'll see. Voskaya Industries, it will be the Los Angeles Valiant defending first. And so far, it looks like they still feel like Ashe is the way to go.
But here's a point, though, where you could probably make it work. Long lines of sight, really nice access to the point via different angles with a really good line of sight. It's not like a lighthouse where there's one way in, one way out.
What do you think about these supports, though?
Well, you need a mortality field here, because as KSP gets dove on, you need to keep him alive. You're not going to be able to do that with a Brig. So you need to have the Batiste in play. But this also takes away some long-range healing capabilities to like Dreamer and KSF, so they can't exactly play as aggressive.
Yeah, no repair packs available, no shield bash to sort of deal with would-be divers, of which the Reign are toting 3. We'll see how this works out. It means the Valiant have more survival, but less ability to actually punish sort of poorly structured dives onto them, if that makes sense. That was...
he almost kills him with a deflect there.
That would take the wind out of your sails pretty bad to start things off. Dogman doesn't breathe there, but whatever it is, engine oil's been spilled over the ground as KSP was able to find him. And that's the risk you have with Zen on this composition. Dogman has always preferred to play Zen if he can help it.
This is also the benefits of Ashe. You can't exactly dive her extremely easily from this position in the choke. You have to get creative. You see Edison now trying to work around the outside.
KSF in the duel. He's going to win it out. Edison was discorded. And it's just as well. I think Edison was trying to stay alive until the Discord orb expired, as he was out of line of sight of Lastro.
And I think that would have worked for Edison if his team was in position here to try and make a play. Like, if you draw 2 players back in the Discord orb, you kind of accomplished your job. Gator will go Wrecking Ball here. So, Wrecking Ball compared to Winston obviously doesn't have the shielding, but look at how much easier it is for him to gain position.
He has better survivability as well, but I mean, he doesn't really need it so much because he's not trying to dive a Brig. Either way, the Atlanta Reign take a ton of damage, but here it is, the displacement factor. Roll on through. Reign loses the immortality field. Yeah. It's about opening the gate for Edison by the looks of things. That one went into the kinetic grasp, but McGravy a bit unlucky there. Kinetic grasp was still going by the time he got killed, so he never got the overshield.
Yeah, the Wrecking Ball is just great to be able to get through the choke. And once he gets through the choke, he's a threat. And that forces the Valiant to change off of that position in the choke. It allows a Dogman to make it through with the Discords. It allows the flankers to pick a route and go. And what does it do to the Valiant? It forces them basically onto the point. They have to pick a target, but the targets are so spread out and they just get collapsed on.
I mean, and that's what Ball does so well. It makes it so hard to respond to him when your team is in disarray. Like, you cause displacement, the enemy team will try and respond to you by, I don't know, CCing you or layering some cooldowns, but you're already out of dodge or you've already knocked them up into the air. So Gator tries again.
Yeah, that Matrix ends up on the ground. I think they probably wanted up on the high ground.
I don't even know if Bob is actually benefiting from it either, because the front of his gun model is actually past the window pane itself. So I don't think Bob was getting amplified. That's one big ultimate by the wayside, but KSP once again saves the day for now.
So you trade your rally if you're the Atlanta Reign for the Ant Matrix on the other team, and it'll be Urster with a pick off, Edison with 2.
I mean, that is ridiculous value for Edison now, and the DPS ultimates now can just be used at volition. But Gravy's able to find Gator. That may slow things down just a little bit, but the Reign still have 4 players here ready to fight with.
What?
And Urster just slaps Dreamer back there. That's,
and he had Primal.
Yep, didn't have a chance to use it. I think he got burst down awfully fast. You see, Urster actually killed him with a headshot. It wasn't a dash, so possibly 3 shurikens straight to the dome with a Discord orb. Just meant that he couldn't hang. Still, KSF comes back with a blade to try and turn things back in his team's favor, and it's the DPS for the Valiant that get them out of dodge. Having a vantage point for Ash is so important on this point, but the Reign are happy to stick around a little longer. Dogman, under intense scrutiny now, will eventually capitulate.
Yes, it looks like you're going to have a hold here for the Valiant, but you do give up 2 ticks. Edison's still here causing problems. He should be able to make it out with his life, but the Atlanta Reign just need 1 tick to close this out, and even if they don't, they get 90% on the point here.
And look, this is 2 pulse bombs in 2 fights for Edison. The last one got him 2 kills. A Zen and a Genji picked off by that. The Valiant
have nothing to work with here, Mitch. 1 good ground pound here from Gator gets him mines, puts him on the point. It'd be difficult to contest.
Primal doesn't do much either for Dreamer. There's no blade to try and counter out. Okay, it's a quick trade though. KSF's able to fight Edison, so Urster may not try and follow up. Gator, unfortunately, look, when you're Wrecking Ball, Matt, it's in for a penny, in for a pound. You don't really have a get out of jail free card there.
You'll wait for him to come back though. Then you'll go full strength, and then you'll have Blade, Pulse Bomb, and Minefield for the point. Rain will probably have to rally. Try and help his team clear out the mines, get a little mine sweeping going on the point. But still, the Atlanta Reign with a lot of good ultimates to put this round in their favor with a decent amount of time as well.
Credit to KSF. He's being proactive on this Genji. He's trying to make sure his team aren't goad before he goes in and finds a kill. Still, there's not much you can do about that. The stick is there. Both teams have lost their Sigmas. But Gravy was trying to build up another Gravitic Flux to buy a little bit of time, and that shield is very, very low right now for Rain. He's under a lot of pressure, so goes for the rally. Doesn't stop Urster for finding Lastro, though, and off the point are the Valiant Force. The Rain will have it done with 1 minute and 55 on the clock.
Yeah, and almost impossible for the Valiant to contest there. They had Rally going, but they're going against a Transcendence plus Blade. There's still a few mines, I believe, on the point at that time. There's nothing really the Valiant can do to contest there. What I want to see here is, do the Valiant come out and play the Ashe again? They could. But what we've seen from the past in teams that try and do this on offense is, especially if you play like a 2 slower supports, let's say like a Zen and the Batiste, is that maybe some of your players are able to make it in, but Ashe gets stuck at the choke, and then she's a perfect dive target.
Still, the Valiant able to buy a lot of time, and it wasn't even... I mean, KSP generated a lot of threat. He required dives to be aimed at him, but that allowed KSF to go, right, well, I'm going to go and follow in. And maybe, you know, use a Discord orb, or at least just some way of knocking out one of their DPSs early. Have a look at Edison's Pulse Bomb here, I think it was. This was so brutal.
Who does he hit?
KSF, it's pinned the bomb on the Genji. Oh, you're kidding me!
Oh,
that is...
Lastro didn't deserve that.
I'm getting flashbacks to XQC on Dorado getting stuck and killing his Pharah Mercy combo. Or his Mercy, sorry. That's... Oh, it's so rough. What do? You're just frantically trying to find a way out, and you...
What I do love is, like, he's near McGravy, who actually may have been able to live through the blast, but then just beelines directly at Lastro.
We call that one
gets murdered.
From England with love.
Yeah. All right, so they play Brick here because they know there's a chance that the Ashe gets dove in the choke.
All right, no dive. Did the Rain actually play back? They might dive here, though. Try and split up the Valiant. KSP gets through. Still nothing. Interesting. So KSP gets, or at least he gets sort of the illusion that he can take this high ground and have a perch, but Gator's sticking around. He'll just drop off and then heal and then use his jump to get back in the air again, and he's going to get a lot of damage with this Tester Cannon. Yep. So he's already forced the Immortality Field. That's been removed. And now you get a
have a lot of
second
heroes
dive.
that can do this, yeah.
So Lastro now doesn't have that key cooldown for another 15 seconds or so. So huge window, no pun intended, for the Atlanta Reign to try and abuse. But Gator's taking a ton of damage. Nice poke from the Valiant, make it hard for the Atlanta Reign to set up. And KSP, sneaky beaky like, has made his way around to the far side as the cap begins. Now they have like a corral situation.
Yeah, they're going to get one tick. This will be the Amp Matrix here. Is trying to get shots into Edison. He knows he can't let the Tracer get close. As the Valiant, they step off the point a little bit. They have to do a good job of protecting KSP. They're trying to find an angle to dive him up on this high ground.
Rain and Lastro are both up there, though, so a lot of healing resources are focused right now, and they're not on Dreamer. Dreamer had no one to heal him. Very clever that he got away, and just in the nick of time, there's an immortality field. The Valiant do a very good job of actually splitting their forces and keeping both their healers back, but eventually they get run down. It's as simple as Atlanta having everybody in the one place and the Valiant being forced to split to give that vantage point to KSP.
And you're in a much better position if you're the Atlanta Reign during this, because like you mentioned, they have both supports next to KSP. They have the tanks basically playing on the point with KSF. So you are playing, if you're Atlanta, your Winston, Genji, Tracer against the Ashe double supports, and you have your Sigma and both supports with a Zen in the mix against, you know, the tanks, really.
I mean, look at this.
And you're in a great spot to be able to hold that.
But now there's two ticks, so look what Gator's playing. Now, Gator wouldn't be playing so far forward, and he wasn't when the Valiant had no progress, but now you actually can't give too much space. So Gator has to play forward like this and just do a bit of damage and get out, or maybe set up some space for Edison and Ursa to get kills. Recall there from Edison. Immortality Field has to be used so early in the fight, and here comes the bomb from KSP. Is it enough? It's a trade at least, but the Sigma's down, so that's a big shield out of the mix here for the Valiant. They only have the bubble left, and Ursa is free to cause havoc. He knows approximately where Bob is, so he just avoids him.
Yeah, and it's a Transcendence here from Dogman to keep everybody alive, trying to deny them access to the high ground. It's something that you mentioned they did not do the last time they get KSP, as he's trying to go on a bit of a flank. A minute to go here for the Valiant. You'll have probably Gravitic Flux Blade to combo, so pretty good combo. Although everybody on Atlanta can play pretty spread out. I like the position that Gator's playing in as well, because if they try and move towards that left-hand side and try and access that high ground, he just sits on the corner with the Tesla can and just puts down so much damage. He'll have a primal in no time.
Look for Atlanta to, again, try and force that immortality field, disengage for a moment, and then really start to apply pressure. Right now, the Valiant just want to stay out of line of sight. They don't really want to allow their supports to get caught here. But the closer they get, the easier it is to flank them. Now they're in enemy territory, so getting behind them is an easy task for Edison and Ursa.
Lastro's in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, Immortality Field got used there. I mean, who's being protected by that one? No one. But Lastro, I mean, what choice does he really have? Gator is just focused on him. Laser focused, and Lastro won't get away. The licking tendrils claim him, and the rest of the Valiant now are going to crumble as a result. Atlanta are dissecting them right now.
Yes, that'll be Edison connecting on a pulse bomb onto McGravy as he's up in the airs. KSP, he'll get a touch on McCree, but this looks like Atlanta getting a full hold as they are rolling.
I love this from Atlanta. This is so smart, the way that they're playing this composition. And they change, Matt, where they're setting up. You know, they start by playing back, and then they realize they don't have the margin to do that, so they play forward and they still make it work. The Valiant, I mean, put themselves in a position when they're going to get flanked. If they want that high ground for KSF, they have to push up as a group, expose their rears, as it were. And Atlanta just, I mean, that's just big brain. These guys really have a good read right now on how to play this meta.
Yeah, and I think if you are the Valiant, if you're going to play McCree there at the end, especially in combo with a Brig and a Batiste, you may as well play for a brawly style and play on the point. Like,
sure.
With maybe like bring in a Reinhardt and a Sigma. Because if you're not going to really be able to follow up any of these dives with the Genji if you're going to play the Winston into this, especially when they have the Zen on the other side, and they're being so aggressive with their dive towards you. So if you're going to commit and try and counter the dive, go all in on it.
So far, the prophecy of Atlanta Reign only winning in 3-0s is still holding right now. Yeah, the Los Angeles Valiant on the back foot in a big way, and we have not seen any Tracer whatsoever from them. For whatever reason, there has been no sign of Shax. The Valiant want to play the Ashe, and I'll be honest with you, it's being used against them by the Reign. Yeah. They know how to play against this comp. I really want to hear some insights from Johnny, especially at the halftime break, as he discusses how this dive is working, because right now, I want to hear what the Valiant can do that doesn't involve them, you know, changing to have a Tracer. Surely there's a way to play this map that can actually give them more durability. Hitting onto a map like Route 66, where it's going to be all dive all the time. So Let's step aside now and give a chance for our experts to be heard as we head to our game break. And when we return, it'll be map number 3 as the Atlanta Reign look to make this a clean sweep of the Valiant. Stick around, much more Overwatch coming your way.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Hello and welcome to the Game Break presented by Pringles. Wavy, Zoe, Costa and Reinforce once again back here to dissect all the action. Currently, the Atlanta Reign are leading the Charge 2-0 against the LA Valiant. So, you know what? Let's just get straight in there, starting with you, Reinforce, as you were the team to predict the Atlanta Reign. Of course, I want to get your thoughts on why you predicted them and also what is working for them. They are playing more chaotic / scrappy comms, but they look very confident on it.
Yeah, they look pretty confident on it, and this is sort of what I wanted. This is what I wanted to see the Atlanta Reign do in this matchup against the LA Valiant, because part of the reason I predicted the Atlanta Reign was because I envisioned Los Angeles Valiant struggling to adapt in this hero pool that is pretty messy. You know, you cannot simply rely on Shax and KSP to carry the load for you, but also because Atlanta Reign, they're moving on from Baby Bay retiring earlier in the week, and also Kodak now becoming a coach, and I wanted them to sort of embrace this scrappy kind of composition where they can rely on Edison's Tracer, Erster's Genji, and now Gator is even playing the Wrecking Ball, which we haven't seen a ton of. And they're really just embracing the scrappiness and just playing dive pretty confidently. And it is significantly better than what the Valiant are doing, where they're hesitating and they don't really know how to play this slower style with the Reinhardt and Sigma and KSF on the Genji and KSP on the Astra. Like, they're figuring out their playstyle, the Valiant that is. And meanwhile, the Atlanta Reign, they're saying, hey, we lost Baby Bay, we have to figure out what we're doing for the rest of the season, so we're just gonna play this Tracer Genji and with a Wrecking Ball perhaps, and just see what happens. So I really like the confidence coming out of the Atlanta Reign, and they're just putting the eggs in their individual skill basket, where they're just relying on their star players to pop off.
Right on. Eggs all over the place. Now, if we're looking at the Valiant side of things, Costa, we are not having any trace so far of Shax. They are very insisting on playing that Ashe. Are you a fan of that? Do you think that's the wrong decision to make? Can they continue in that fashion?
I can see where the Valiant are coming from with this composition. I'm sure they've scrimmed with Shax, and I'm sure they've scrimmed with KSP, and it seems like they're leaning more towards playing around the Ashe. It looks really bad right now, and I think that's mainly because of the KSP Ashe. It feels like the Atlanta Reign understands how they need to play around it. They're giving the space and then getting a really good dive. Edison is getting so much work done because he's pretty much moving around the map for free because he doesn't have a counterpart to shut him down other than KSP. So I would like to see Shax come in because it just doesn't look very good right now. I don't think the Valiant have inflexibility. I just think they're intentionally being inflexible with the idea of putting KSP in. Obviously, they could play the Genji Tracer if they wanted to put Shax in, and I think it would look better for them, and that's what we've seen from most teams. It is really weird that they are sticking with this Ashe, and as far as we see right now, there aren't any subs coming in. So I do worry if they're going to be able to pull out the W because they feel like they're being stubborn once again, and it might lose them a match.
Reinforce, Mitch did pose a question. Can they get it done without actually swapping their composition and opting for a Tracer? And if so, how can they get it done against what the Atlanta Reign is actually throwing at them?
Well, I think it's going to be very hard to make that happen. I think at this point you sort of have to look at what the Atlanta Reign are doing and try to counter it. I mean, a Tracer could be a viable option. We've seen how much success Shax has had on that hero throughout the season. But even something like a Sombra, I'm putting it out there, okay? Shax is a hitscan player, and I believe he's played some Sombra in the past as well. You see that Gator is having fun on the Wrecking Ball, and then you can maybe disrupt Erster a little bit on the Genji and make sure he doesn't get as much value. So I would like to see the Valiant adapt to what the Atlanta Reign are doing, not necessarily improve on their already established composition, but at least try to counter what the opponents are doing. So some type of adjustment has to be made in the second half.
Now for our crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the one word that Reinforce continued to screech and scream throughout those first two maps. Of course, I'm talking about Edison. Reinforce, why don't you take it away?
I mean, this guy is just quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch in the league because he has so much pop-off potential on this Tracer. It is Edison. He has been a bit of a breakout star this year, and he has carried the Atlanta Reign on his back. You take a look at the stats themselves, 12.5 final blows per 10 minutes as Tracer in this match, 46% pulse bomb attach rate, 21.8 eliminations per 10 minutes, and 2.8 deaths per 10 minutes. I mean, this guy popped off, especially on Volskaya point B. He was lighting up the kill feed. He was all over the place. He essentially unlocked the team fight. Consequently, I'm losing my words because I'm just so amazed by this guy. He is by far the best player on this roster, and he is now essentially opening the door for Atlanta Reign to establish themselves as this mid-table team as we want them to be. There are a lot of teams suffering in the NA region right now, and if Edison performs like this, and with a little bit of help from players like KSF dashing into his Sanyara with the pulse bomb, they could become a really good team. So I'm very interested to see how this team will develop with Edison on that Tracer, and with that, I am going to enjoy these Pringles Wavy in the second half as I see my Atlanta Reign prediction paying off. It's going to be so good. I'm looking forward to the second half.
You know what? I give you that one. As usually, my heart is always voting for the Atlanta Reign, as I'm very unbiased, of course. Either way, that is it for our game break, and we are now moving on to Route 66. That's coming up next, and for all the action, we once more send it back to Matt and Mr. X.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, after our game break here in our final series of the day featuring the Atlanta Reign and the Los Angeles Valiant. And my question was answered, Matt. I asked, how do the Valiant get a map in this series, let alone win it with this composition? Johnny said they have to actually either play the same game but better or find a composition to counter this Genji Tracer. But how does that work? Boston tried it with some, Moira, Reaper, Lucio stuff, and it didn't work the moment that a D.Va got brought in by the shock.
Well, you have to either commit and play something that's very slow, like we tried to do with a Reaper, a Reinhardt, McCree, like Brigitte, like a lot of those heroes, maybe a Baptiste as well for Immortality, or you have to match it. And they have not shown willingness to match it, and they haven't shown willingness to commit all the way in on a slower type of comp.
Route 66 is going to be our third map in this series, and hey, so far, like I've said before, the Atlanta Reign have won all of their series 3-0 right now. We mentioned earlier on, they're a team that really works well with momentum, and it seems like if they can close the series out early, then they do pretty well. This is their chance to do just that. The last time the Valiant and the Reign went head-to-head back in Week 13, it was a gruesome affair. It was messy. It went to 5 maps, and the Valiant ultimately prevailed. The Atlanta Reign will do whatever they can to avert a long series and a potential repeat of that result.
And something we should mention, no subs. So you don't see Shax come in for the LA Valiant. It'll be the same exact damage dealer core, but it seems like they want to try and make this work potentially with having like an Ashe in play with a Genji. So we'll see. It'll be Atlanta Reign on defense. I fully expect them to do a dive with the Sigma in play.
We'll see on the Sigma. The Sigma Winston is an interesting one, Matt. Sigma offers you just so much, as well as being able to still hold the fort while Winston is diving in. You also have accretion and gravitic flux, which is just unbelievably good, and especially if you force out an immortality field.
I mean, the Sigma has about as good of a kit, if not better, than D.Va's outside of the mobility, right?
I remember that Week 9 Earth Shatter by Dreamer. It was, I was searching for superlatives there, but it was filthy. Only play Reinhardt here, though. Probably not. They do go with the... Okay, so still, the Valiant really are sticking here to the plan. The plan, by the way, which hasn't really worked at all. So I think you'd be reasonable in criticizing this decision, but let's see if it works here on their last chance.
I just wonder what they've seen in terms of scrimmages in the off weeks that this composition has, that this is it. This is the one. Because we've seen a lot of teams opt to go towards dive or full-on counter dive type of setups. We haven't really seen teams kind of go a little bit of half and half here. You see, we saw a little bit of it there. Urser dive onto KSP. He has no chance. He's disordered. He's up in the high ground alone. He's dead within seconds with the way Genji is right now. Look at it's the way Genji is right now. You cannot be alone.
Wow, KSF. That damage boost in the Shurikens really hits different, huh? The Atlanta Reign are going to have to back up a little bit after losing the Tracer there. It just means that they have less to do while they have attracted the attention of the Valiant's front line. So, the Valiant justifiably try and take a little bit of space here. This isn't the best spot to be for LA. I'm going to try and wrap Dreamer around the side, but he's already extremely low. Crucially, Matt, KSP gets to sit here fairly safe, but his sightline is suboptimal.
It's just will he get dove? It's a nice pick by Lasher on Namasa here. Now Dreamer can go in with the Blade here of KSF and still be Dogman using the Transcendence. The damage may already be done, though.
Yeah, a touch late on the Transcendence, perhaps. They already lost Hawk, who they really would have wanted after the smoke cleared. And yeah, question marks there from Dream. I'm not sure what for. Maybe the Pulse Bomb that got stuck to him there. Was interesting to see Edison invest that in what was probably a lost fight, but the Reign wanted to try their luck anyway. First checkpoint coming up here, and the Valiant, again, a very short spawn camp, and they're able to break their way through now. And it's just Hawk who has to pretty much hold
They're going to
fort.
try and fight this. You have Edison here as well. Moss is getting close to a rally. Does he decide to use it? As that'll be the Transcendence used for the Valiant. Maybe use Rally after. Yup, Rally close played. Here it is.
No way are they going for this. Astra with the Dragon Blade finds one, but it's a code to come back with KSP to keep themselves at arm's length and keep himself alive. That could have gone extremely badly for the Valiant, but KSP stands up, finds 2 kills, and lets Bob go.
I was going to say the Bob is a little bit odd here at the end. You already had the point, then you end up using Bob. They take care of Edison, but if you're the Atlanta Reign, you got out the Transcendence there. They use Transcendence, they use Ant Matrix, and they use Bob to get it over the line. So you do get some ultimates out. Still good a push here from the Valiant. They're doing a nice job of protecting KSP, but this map, although Ilios on Ruins, there's a lot of great sightlines for the Ashe.
I mean, the Reign committed to that fight a lot. Post-Transcendence, they used a lot of ultimates there. Obviously, we saw the Dragon Blade. There's also a rally attempt, Primal, for Gator to try and stall the card. Here's a Blade here. Oh, man. Dreamer gets in, and KSF just helps him with a little bit of extra damage. Back to spawn for the Atlanta Reign, and the dive hybrid for the Valiant right now is working out.
Yes, as they have the space, the KSP able to put down damage, get damage with the dynamites, and then also Dreamer able to get in the mix with KSF. This is where you see the composition excel, where you cannot access the Ashe, the damage keeps coming down, and then the dive can finish it off. As Gator will play Wrecking Ball now. There's a few times Atlanta Reign's gone towards the ball.
Long range gravitic flux from McGravy, but pretty much keeps everybody inside up on that upper level. Doesn't find any kills. Fortunately, KSP's doing plenty of that. The longer that McGravy keeps the Reign snarled up inside that corridor, the longer KSP gets to go to work, and the easier it is for KSF to get big Swift Strike dashes and abrasive kills.
Yeah, so the Valiant are rolling now. I was going to wonder, all right, this is what I was going to say. Does Hawk stay on the Sigma? Because Gator switches from the Wrecking Ball back to Winston. Now Hawk will play Diva. This is where we've seen teams when the dive gets stalled out. This is what we saw the Shock do, right? They bring the Diva into the mix.
All right. Amplification Matrix used by the Valiant there as the Reign try and encircle them for the... That was a nasty dynamite. That was through the Matrix as well. That did a heck of a lot of damage. And the Reign are just looking crispy right now.
Yeah, the Reign are just falling apart as the Valiant are now starting to come online. As the card will get around the corner. They'll have Transcendence. They'll have Bob here as they're looking to set a very good time on Route 66.
Yeah. And look, this is the kind of map where they get that value out of the Ashe that they were looking for now. It's been really hard for the Reign to get anything going, especially with Lastro finding a couple of these early picks and Edison sort of just falling down. He's only got 3 kills, 1 kill so far. Transcendence is there, so KSS Blade doesn't get much done. Masa having to rally though as well, so Atlanta desperately use both of their support ultimates in that moment now. Should win them the fight. I mean, I guess they really do need a chance to solidify here. What can they convert it into though?
The biggest thing there, Mitch, is when Dreamer goes in and he's trying to put pressure on the backline, he expects the Transcendence from Lastro to be there a little bit faster to be able to save him. Dreamer dies and Lastro uses the Transcendence, and they don't have any other big support ult. That really hurt.
Edison just found his 2nd kill of this map so far, after being such a dominant force in the first 2. That should give you an inkling as to exactly what it is that's holding the Reign back so far. KSF, 12 final blows. Dreamer, 5, and so does Lastro. So the Valiant are, I mean, they're finding some excellent vantage points and they're finding kills, whereas the dive duo of the Atlanta Reign are looking pretty torrid currently. Oh no, that's heartbreaking for Erster. One more slash to the blade would have gotten the kill, but Lastro finds yet another one. He's looking very, very good on this Zenyatta so far in this map. That's 6 final blows.
Yeah, just the pressure, though, Edison is still putting on. Is that'll be 2 kills for the Valiant. Can they get even in, like, everybody close enough to start getting the cart going, though?
Edison needs a multi-pulse bomb kill in the next few moments, but I don't really think he fancies even trying with his team in tatters.
Well, a few big ultimates coming out of the spawn here for the Atlanta Reign. You'll have Self-Destruct to stall it out. You'll have a Transcendence coming back to end this Pulse Bomb from Edison.
Pulse Bomb stuck. Gets it. Dreamer almost knocked back in the rest of his team. I don't know. That's incredible. KSP catches Edison. It's like William Tell, except done wrong. But right, in KSP's case. You get what I mean.
Ursa with 3.
Yeah, double dash through for him there. Discord Orb doing a lot of work, but easily dispatched here by KSF. Ultimately, Bob is down. The KSP KSP doesn't really have much to work with here, and the rain again can slow things down a bit more. And importantly, Matt, only one support ultimate used this time.
I was going to say they hold on to Transcendence for the Blade that'll come from KSF, and Hawk holds on to his self-destruct. So you have the self-destruct to clear the point out, and the Transcendence to get everybody through that Dragon Blade. Also Gator with a Primal Rage coming online to stall. So Atlanta looking to at least get this one into OT.
KSP coach guns himself. Probably just trying to knock the D.Va back more than anything, but he is an Immortality field, and it makes it hard for Gator to get anything done. But Hawk drops the bomb in. I love the adaptation to D.Va now. Gives him the mobility to actually chase after KSP instead of standing there impotently as Sigma, just holding a shield up. Still, the fight's not quite over yet, but the Valiant are pretty much out of steam, and they will opt to back away and leave it for one last fight. And Dogman still has Transcendence.
And Ursa's got this Blade. They could choose to be aggressive here, Atlanta. Make it very difficult for the Valiant, really costly for the Valiant to get the card going again and then win that second fight. So it looks like they back up now, though. They're going to play it a little bit safe.
Oh, okay. The Rain actually get aggressive and they lose Gator as a result. Oh my god! Ursa charges past and gets headshot by KSP during Dragon Blade. That is the most nasty shot I have seen from an Ashe. And that completely boomed Atlanta Rain's strategy in that fight. First they lose the Winston, then Nagenji with the Dragon Blade, and the Transcendence doesn't mean squat if you can't keep anyone alive. Gator's going to return back to the car now, but it's a Dragon Blade from KSF, and it wasn't even needed. Accretion got rid of Gator in the end there. Ursa steps up. We're in overtime at the very least, and Atlanta Rain are just trying to stall things out for as long as they can. Masters down a Primal Rage, and that was quite something. The Valiant, they get the map done, and KSP with the most disgusting thing I've seen in quite some time.
But out of all the options that Atlanta had to play that fight, they played it that way? Like, if you're gonna play aggressive, why didn't they just deny, like, at the door, right? Like, if you're gonna go all in, go all in. Like, don't back up, then go all the way in. Because Gator goes in, he's trying to put pressure on the back line. Ursa follows him up, and Dogman's so far away, you can't Transcendence that. Then you also don't have the Transcendence for the Blade. If you're gonna play that aggressive, force them to fight at the door, right? Or that corner. Like, if you ever would have played everybody at the corner, you would have gotten a second fight before the cart would have went in.
There's a world where you can just walk up as the Atlanta Rain without having, you know, Gator dive in and almost maybe signal to their players that they were trying to fight there. You can play the corner. Hold on to your, your Winston jump pack and use it just for safety.
Yeah.
Test up forward.
And that's when they looked like they were putting together the best hold, is when they played close up and they gave Edison the space to kind of roam around, play around the spawn door. Really odd way they played that at the end there, Atlanta. They do get it into OT, though. So the Valiant finished the map. No time remaining in their time bank, though.
Atlanta, once they were able to solidify and actually stagger their support ultimates, slowed things down a ton. Now they get to be on the attacking side. They get to set the pace here and see what the Atlanta Rain have looked very, very good, when it's come to being offensive with their dive comp. They remind me of sort of Philadelphia at their best last season using sort of defensive dives. And I like that Hawk has just been happy to go over towards D.Va and is really starting to put pressure on KSP, more so than Sigma can do anyway. You don't really need peel, you just need more dive.
So let's see if they can protect KSP on defense this time. Dive will come through. Dreamer very low, so that'll actually be backing up, giving up more space here to the Rain.
Hawk desuited. I mean, that really deflates the Rain. Okay, KSP a little low. Immortality field. I mean, if it's being used so late in the fight, that's a good thing, but oh dear. That could come back to hurt them. Ursa! Ursa! Are you good? Finds himself 2 kills and is finally shut down, but that was not supposed to happen on his own. Essentially on his own, finding 3 kills there. And now
remember in the pre-game where you were asking, if Ursa is still really good or not.
I can't believe what just happened. The Valiant just... I'm astral projecting right now. The Valiant would have been fine if, theoretically, if KSP stays inside the Immortality field, but it didn't happen, and then Ursa got 3. That's madness. Dreamer is probably pretty boom right now. He jumps out on the Winston. KSP set up now with an amplification matrix, so nobody wants to peek out against this, but Master is low. Yeah, goes down as Dogman is actually the one to get picked off there. The Dynamite is nasty. There isn't a Matrix there right now. But Gator tries to dive in, gets caught out, and KSP's really starting to style a bit more now. Edison's Pulse Bomb gets at least rid of the Immortality field, but there's also a Transcendence in place, so no one's really affected by that in the end. But he stays here. Urster stays safe after pulling the blade, and KSP gets rid of him with the bomb. Quite the bodyguard he's got himself there. And now it's going to be a Hawk, Mini Diva. Okay, Dream is there, so it's going to be pretty hard, but Gator now comes to the rescue. Big Brother is angry. He gets knocked down. It's going to be a Dynamite thrown at him almost immediately now, and Primal Rage is available for Dreamer.
Throwing a lot into this.
Dogman has to invest to stay alive. Why? The Rain could have just taken the L here and backed away, but Dreamer now buys him enough space. He did have to use Primal, and that's an early Immortality field now, so can the Atlanta apply pressure after the fact? It looks like that's possible, but KSF has other plans. The Dragon Blade is looking to try and slow things down for Atlanta, but he only found Urster, and the cart got to the checkpoint. This is real messy.
They needed to win that. Can you imagine if they end up losing that fight there with how much they were investing in it? Atlanta, they will get that first checkpoint, but it is not easy. Urster has to go huge on Genji numerous times, getting pick-offs when they're down players to keep it going. So now Atlanta, though, Mitch, they're set up with some good ultimates going into the next fight, right? You got a bomb, you have Pulse Bomb as well, the self-destructing Pulse Bomb, and then you also have the Rally for Masa if they decide to dive. All you have for the Valiant right now is your Gravitic Flux.
And McGravy, fantastic Diva player, but the Valiant, sorry, don't want that right now. Stick with the Sigma. Hawk has a self-destruct here, but he just quickly looks at his backline to make sure that no one's going to be coming in. And McGravy goes down, and that Immortality field got used there. It kept Dreamer alive until now. Edison goes in with a Pulse Bomb, and this is Atlanta Reign. This is what they do when they get some momentum on their side. Lastro, though, with some classy play. A kick to the backside of Edison for that hubris, but it will still be the Rain getting to the second checkpoint now with 4 minutes and 20 on the clock. They are blazing through Route 66 here, and they have plenty to work with for the last stage.
Right, and McGravy goes Diva now. What we've seen at least a little bit is when the Sigmas use Gravitic Flux, that's when we usually see self-destruct come out, because it's very difficult for Sigma to break line of sight. He wants to get a good Gravitic Flux off. But that time, the bomb ends up catching McGravy out. So McGravy now will end up playing Diva, trying to protect his backline even a little bit more.
Maybe more pressure for Dogman as well. Okay, so we had to see the dive out there by Dreamer.
Just caught line of sight this.
Yep. KSP set up beautifully here for an Matrix. The problem was that the Rain actually weren't committed to fighting. So they could easily have disengaged from that. Maybe could have hoped to hold that a little longer. Regardless, Bob is available. KSF is looking for Urster, who's forced to deflect and back away, and Bob comes bumbling straight on in. Again, the Rain can line of sight this quite effectively by playing.
And you have a lot of time.
They're just waiting for odds to be used. This is much better paced from Atlanta than earlier on this round.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to really push the price of it. Right here, we have Lastro who pops his Transcendence inside of the Immortality field straight away, and he's going to die anyway. Yeah,
at the moment he gets knocked out of it. And look at this, McGravy gets him with a Pulse Bomb there. A lot of damage on him. Somehow Dreamer stays alive, but he had to use his Primal Rage as well. KSF, Matt, he attempted a Dragon Blade. It did not go well. Lastro had already used his Transcendence, and KSF was hoping no one would notice him. That's not how it works. The Atlanta Rain now at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Then Hawk is ready to push them back into spawn. Cart is still moving, almost inexorable at this point now as Masa pops the rally, and the Rain want to go yet again. Inexhaustible Atlanta are right now, and a whip shot kill for Lastro. Masa is laying down the pain. The gavel of justice rings true. McGravy's knocked on back, and Dogman's going to stay spot to take KSF down before he can even get into the fight. Here's the Dragon Blade. Dreamer's low. He's afraid of it, but it comes through him anyway. And Ursa there's going to block the Genji shots as he pushes out. And that'll be it. 3 minutes and 17 seconds on the clock for the Rain after a 1 minute extension for both teams. And there it is. A good lead for Atlanta going into extra innings, Matt.
And it all goes back to the compositions here for the Valiant. Is when they're able to get space for KSP on Ash, they look great, right? Their offense, they were able to create space for him. He was able to make an impact. When the dive is just rolling for the Atlanta Rain and they have map control and they're kind of pushing him into chokes and not allowing them to get space, which is really good positioning by the Atlanta Rain on their in their attacks. the Ashe is really not delivering much because there's no sight lines. You're getting pushed, and then also to keep the Ashe alive, to make it impactful, you have to burn the immortality field. You have to have a defense matrix come back. It's a lot of resources that if you don't get that space, it doesn't become effective.
The Atlanta Reign lead by 2 minutes. So they were much faster on their attacking side. Oddly enough, the Valiant still have way more kills than they do. KSF still has 20 kills to Erster's 14, KSP 17, Edison's 9. But the Atlanta Reign were able to do much more with much less kills. They were able to take much more ground and force the Valiant to give up a lot of space there. So that gets them comfortably in the lead without having to spill nearly as much blood, which is not something you often see. And now we'll see. They want to play close once more here. Both teams with the D.Va. KSP, how will he stay safe here? KSF also probably has to ask the same question now as he's accosted by the Brigitte of Massa.
You're going to have to back out here if you're Atlanta. You lose your Winston. So Gator will come back on Wrecking Ball, and now you lose your Zen. Atlanta should really be looking to back all the way out here. Wait for Dogman, get one more fight before point A.
Take maybe as little space up as possible, Atlanta, lest they risk having someone else picked off to a wayward orb from Lastro or KSP finding a headshot. Dreamer, oh my Dreamer, you cannot let that happen. You have the numbers advantage, but you overextend just a little bit. And Edison gets a full clips of damage out and towards Dreamer. And now he gets to head towards the backline. KSP gets pressured down, but he backs up. Rain finds 2 kills with an amplification matrix, just what the doctor ordered, right, Rain? KSP has gone down, but the Atlanta Reign have kept at bay for the time being, thanks to the heroics of this Batiste player.
Just let Edison get back in the mix. It's almost like Atlanta on their first offense, where they just throw so much into their point A push. It ends up working out in them in the end, but they just need one fight here. Zamaso will open things up with Rally.
What a
This will
dive.
be the blade from KSF as well.
Rain, though, gets taken out. Master is removed by KSF's Dragon Blade, and he's in just the right place to make best use of it. Hawk, Master, Dogman, all fall. Dreamer even getting involved there. Despite a coordinated dive occurring to the backline of the Valiant, the Reign are behind in this fight so far. Lastro's down, but Erster's also missing, and now the Wrecking Ball has to step up, but Gator is on his last legs as well. The Reign have to concede this checkpoint, and now in overtime, the Valiant are stuck to the cart.
All right, so Atlanta, they'll get fully regrouped. They'll have self-destruct, minefield, blade, transcendence, a lot of ultimates to put this one away. It's going to be so difficult for the Valiant here, Mitch. Not many ultimates. They have to keep people on the cart at all times. And just huge AoE destruction ultimates coming in here.
Erster not expecting to run into Dreamer, or maybe it was the other way around, as Dreamer has to use the Primal and go, oh dear, Soldier! Well, he locks the legs, and the legs get torn from him. And now Erster's happy with just the 1 kill now. Kind of hard to shift the Valiant off the cart here. There's so many opportunities for them to break line of sight, but still the Reign will try. Look at Rain. He's so low in the back line, and this should create some space. McGrave is able to break line of sight there by using the cart, but still eventually is taken down. And the Reign finally managed to evict the Valiant from the cart. And they have 3 minutes and 17 now.
I always say this, though. It's not bad at all for the Valiant. I mean, you get point A, you get a little bit past the door to give yourselves an opportunity of a hold. I think Atlanta just threw a lot of, like, they could have easily have grouped there, Mitch, towards the end and got one really good fight before point A. They just never really were able to do it.
McGravy here is unsure about how that self-destruct didn't kill anyone. I was a little surprised as well, given how far forward Atlanta Reign were playing. Perhaps one of those motorcycles on screen there is what Dogman had used to break line of sight. I mean, Zenyatta can crouch, right? His model does lower somewhat. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, so he can lower down the edge of his hitbox and still hide behind stuff, technically. It's just he's dumping altitude.
So can they protect KSP playing D.Va the entire time? So this is essentially the same thing they've been running outside of. Now they're putting McGravy on D.Va instead of Sigma. You lose a fight here for the Valiant, especially because you're not playing close up, and you may get a second fight, but it may be kind of scrappy. You put yourself in a situation where 2 fights ends the match.
I'm enjoying Hawk's D.Va so far, Matt. Obviously, big clutch self-destructs, but he's been very, very active right now, and a big part of what's allowing Dogman to contribute to such a great degree in these fights. Also, allowing Gator to stay alive. Speaking of which, he's on the prowl and the flank. How long before the Valiant realize something is amiss?
They have to know. I mean, he's already rolled on by them, so they just don't know where he's coming from.
But Gator denies Big Earls. He forces the Valiant to play on this cliffside, and they can get knocked off the high ground now and pile-driven. Gator backs away.
Mortality field already.
Really? And
he doesn't even take any damage.
I mean, that is the cheapest field I've ever seen drawn out now, and Dreamer goes down as a result. That is a perfect setup for Atlanta, but do they really have to do much? It's not rocket science from what I can see.
No, and the difference is the difference between Ball and Winston is the same thing on Volskaya. He's just able to access positioning so much easier and faster as the Ball, and then they just lose track of him. They play on the cart, they wait for the Valiant to contest the cart, and then Gator comes out of nowhere, knocks people off of the high ground pound, and then they have to burn the Immortality Field. He rolls away with full HP, and then they go back in and re-engage.
That was quite the outplay.
But he's gonna get around them this time.
Look,
they're gonna have to play on this cart soon, and he's gonna minefield and pound from a certain direction or knock people into a minefield.
Edison, stick on Lastro would end this right now. Maybe even oh, there it is. Okay,
there's
so
Immortality Field.
It's so easy. It's just so easy right now. Master goes down. Range says, all right, stuff this. I'm going to step up and try and take this into my own hands. And it's going to be a Transcendence from Dogman now. One also has to be used by Lastro. He's at least able to clear the minefield while he's in that Transcendence mode. But Erster's able to find KSF at the start of the fight there. So he's out. He could have built a blade. He could have got into Dogman as soon as he finished his Transcendence. But it's not to be in the Atlanta Rain. They continue the trend. When they win big. And it's, I guess, 777's coming up for the Atlanta Rain now as they take another series 3-0.
I almost wanted to see them lose a map to see if they can win after that. But Atlanta looked really good today with their dive compositions. Being able to play Gator on the Winston or the Wrecking Ball, he looked good on both. And then I think Ursa really proved himself today. You're wondering who would step up. Without Baby Bay in the mix, Erster was great.
So frustrating for the Los Angeles Valiant. In that map, they had more kills than the Atlanta Rain did. Yeah, they were behind by, in the end, it was like 1 minute and 15 seconds in terms of time. The way that the Rain were able to play this map was that they were able to, create stagger scenarios. They were able to get a lot of progress. If you look at, I wish we had a stat for this, cart progress per kill. You could probably find it out pretty easily, right? I don't know if that really has any meaning outside of this match. But the Atlanta Rain were able to get a heck of a lot more for that. And it was by doing things like forcing bad positioning, using the Wrecking Ball to knock people off the high ground.
The Valiant just had to work so much harder than Atlanta, it seemed at times, to get anything going. Like, the Valiant needed to play their comp to absolute perfection to even get the cart moving, where we saw Atlanta, they would play a little bit loose sometimes. They would throw some ultimates into fights to extend them out, and they were able to keep it going.
And look, I think the Valiant looked quite serviceable with this Ashe in their composition. It wasn't as if, looking at the numbers, KSF had, or KSP as it was, sorry, had no kills or was just getting killed all the time. And, his stats, in terms of, final blows per 10 minutes and such, were good. There was nothing wrong with them, actually. So I don't think that was the issue. It's a macro problem, I think, that the Valiant encountered. And with a coach like Packing 10, you better believe they're going to go back and look at this match very, very closely to see what happened. Yeah. It's time, though, Matt, to present our player of the match presented by Xfinity, and it's none other than Edison. His first two maps were unbelievable. A little bit quiet early in the third, but he definitely came back.
We highlighted him versus Shax as a Tracer matchup coming into the series. We don't see Shax today. They didn't play any Tracer, the LA Valiant, and Edison was just unbelievable on the hero. It really shows you the type of potential he has as a player, and you needed somebody to step up. With Baby Bay gone now, you didn't really think it would be Edison because he was playing so good already, but he took things to another level today.
So some big pulse bombs on Volskaya. That map wasn't really close at all. It turned into an all-out brawl when it came to Route 66, and Edison got completely shut down on the Atlanta Rain's first defense. I think, it was actually Hawk that really stepped up and allowed Edison to gain that space back that he'd lost as they were being snowballed out of control. But, really respectable final blows per 10-minute strat. Anything above 10 is something that is considered a really high impact player. So congrats to him. And look, that Atlanta Rain DPS line is really looking solid now. We had questions about how Erster would fit in. Just because Erster isn't that player of the match doesn't mean he wasn't a force of his own in the series. And he also looked very good.
well, we know that Ursa can play Genji at a really high level. We've seen that in the past. I think it'll be interesting if they want to run like Ashe Tracer setups, but they also want to fall back to maybe a Genji option. What do? I don't think you can play Sharp in that instance because he can play the Tracer, he can play the Widow, he can play Ashe probably, but you're not really sure about his Genji. So they'll have to try and work something out here, I think, between these two players to make another option in terms of damage dealers like that.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a day of 3 Overwatch across this entire broadcast. But
really fast.
I found that last match to be a lot of fun, especially some of the individual really slick plays that we saw, especially on Route 666 that got me excited. And again, this first week of our Countdown Cup is always a great opportunity to see how teams have adapted to a new hero pool, right? What changes they make. And we can also start to see and project the teams that are going to start to fall behind because maybe they don't quite have the coverage of some of their opponents. That definitely seemed to be the case for the Valiant. Maybe the Tracer isn't the problem.
I still think it's going to be wait and see, though, because if you remember the start of the Summer Showdown, all it was about was the Tracer type of compositions with Ashe, and then the Genji buffs come into Overwatch League, and that makes a big impact. I think as the balance changes come in regards to certain heroes, potentially if we see something with Genji coming down the line, that would shift the meta as well on top of the hero pools, and with hero pools probably being open by that time. So you never know. If it still remains like this, though, I think you're going to have a lot of 3-0s, because what happens with Dive specifically is some teams can coordinate it and do it, some teams just can't figure it out. And that's why you have a lot of these blowouts when teams can play really fast and make high impact plays and consistently just run over teams and really use mechanical skill. Is sometimes you just can't counter dive it back. You have no other option. It's just a matter of time before you lose.
We've seen a couple of different examples of how teams have tried and failed to deal with opponents that have better dive coordination than they do. So really interesting, and just in terms of the academic side of seeing how this meta unfolds. For now, though, that's all the matches we have, but we are still going to get a special treat. We're going to get some words from the victor and our player of the match presented by Xfinity. It's going to be Custer here with Edison.
Thank you very much, Mitch. I am here with Edison and the translator, Dong Min. So congratulations on the win, Edison. You got match MVP today. What are your thoughts on the match as a whole?
일단 승리 축하드리고요. 일단 오늘 승리했는데 오늘 경기 전체적으로 평 한마디 해주시죠.
저희가 좀 더 똑똑하게 플레이해서 상대보다 좀 더 전략적으로 더 잘한 것 같습니다. 저희가.
I think we played smarter, and overall, we just played better. We had better comps, and we just played better as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't doubt that. So we saw Baby Bay and Kodak, two of your teammates, retire. How's the whole team's dynamic and everything shifted with those two guys moving on?
베이비랑 이제 코닥이 이제 은퇴를 발표했는데 이제 그게 좀 팀에 좀 어떤 영향을, 팀 연습에 좀 어떤 영향을 좀 미친 것 같은지.
베이비베이의 자리를 일단 메꿔야 됐기 때문에 그 부분에 대해서 약간 많은 결정들이 있었고 거기에 대해서 좀 힘들었던 것 같습니다.
I mean, with Baby retiring, Baby and Kodak retiring, we had big shoes to fill, and we had decisions to be made, and it was definitely a tough. It was definitely really hard to fill in Baby's shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing a phenomenal job. So, has that made it harder to prepare for this match going into with the LA Valiant? Obviously, Baby was an important player in your team.
이제 그 베이베이가 은퇴함으로써 이제 좀 이번 주 준비하는 데 있어 좀 더 어려웠나요?
조합을 어떤 걸 쓸지를 더 몰라서 그거에 대해서 좀 더 힘들었던 것 같습니다.
We didn't know. We were sometimes lost on like what comps we were gonna play. So in the beginning of the week, and that kind of made it hard on us in the beginning.
Yeah, well, you guys pulled it out 3-0. It was an easy win. So recently, just on your performance, you've been popping off in the Chaser and making an argument for Rookie of the Year. How have you felt about your debut season thus far? Are you happy with it?
지금까지 이제 이번 시즌 퍼포먼스로 보면은 이제 좀 신인상도 이제 루키, 올해의 루키 이런 것도 좀 유력한데 지금까지 본인의 퍼포먼스에 대해서, 시즌 중 퍼포먼스에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시나요?
지금까지 꽤 괜찮게 했다고 생각을 하는데 그래도 한 번씩 못할 때가 많아서 그거에 대해서 조금 걱정이 되고 그렇게 괜찮게 했다고 생각합니다.
I mean, I feel like I did well overall, but I still have these moments where I choke, but other than those moments from time to time, I feel like it's been decent overall.
Yeah, you've been phenomenal as of late. Okay, thank you very much for the interview and congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, don't go anywhere. We got the Watch Point post show coming up with me, Zoe, and Johnny right after this. Stay tuned.